There's this one scientific theory that might explain everything. It's called string theory. And I know it sounds like some made-up pseudoscience, but stick with me here, because it's actually a pretty good description of how the universe works. Okay, first off, what does string theory actually do? In short, it attempts to reconcile general relativity and quantum mechanics. You might have heard of both of these before. They're basically two theories that we use to describe how the universe works. General relativity describes how gravity works, and quantum mechanics describes how everything else works. The problem is, these two theories don't really get along. There's a lot of stuff that they can't explain. Things get weird. String theory is an attempt to bring them back together and explain how everything in the universe works, which would be pretty huge. To do this, it makes a few big assumptions about the universe. First, it says that the smallest possible length in the universe is not zero. It's a tiny, tiny number. I'm talking 10 to the negative 35 meters. That's one followed by 34 zeros. For reference, the width of a proton is about 10 to the negative 15 meters. So this tiny length is about 100 billion times smaller. This may seem arbitrary, but it actually allows string theory to mathematically describe gravity as we understand it under general relativity. Second, string theory assumes that all the matter in the universe is made up of one type of thing, not atoms, but one-dimensional vibrating strings. Different vibrations correspond to different particles. Think of it kind of like a guitar. All you need to make all the sounds is one string. You just vibrate it in different ways. The same goes for matter. One type of vibrating string can make all the different types of matter that we know of. Third, string theory requires more than 3 dimensions of space. We only experience 3, but string theory says there are at least 6 more that are curled up so small we can't see them. These extra dimensions allow the math to work out for the other forces of nature, like electromagnetism and the strong and weak nuclear forces. So to recap, string theory says that the universe is made of tiny vibrating strings in more dimensions than we can see. This explains how gravity works and all the other forces of nature. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't stop there. The math behind string theory also requires the existence of something called a Calabi-Yau manifold. It's kind of like a surface with no edges. You can think of it like the surface of a donut. A donut has a hole in the middle, so it's not a Calabi-Yau manifold. But if you took the center part of the donut, the hole, and glued it to the top and bottom, then you would have a Calabi-Yau manifold. That's kind of like the universe. It never ends. You just keep going in one direction forever. Or maybe it loops back on itself like a Klein bottle. This might sound crazy, but the idea is that our universe is just one of many. They're all exactly the same, except for the particular vibration of the strings. Each universe has a different vibration, which would explain why ours has more matter in it than some others. It's just the way the strings are vibrating. So to summarize, string theory says that the entire universe is made up of vibrating strings in more dimensions than we can see. And our universe is just one of many, each with its own particular vibration that determines what it's like. It's a pretty cool theory, but it's still just a theory. There's no way to test it right now. Maybe one day we'll be able to find evidence for it, but until then, it's just a fun idea to think about.